Hello, everyone. Thanks for being with us this Memorial Day. For News Center Maine at 4, I'm Amanda Hill.
I'm Alan Holt.
I'm Bailey Cornick. Ryan and Brian are off this afternoon. Coming up today, residents of a recovery home in South Portland spent weeks without utilities because the nonprofit that manages the home hadn't paid the bills. We'll tell you about that investigation.
And we'll take a look at how Maine's institutions of higher education are approaching teaching artificial intelligence as a leader of billions of people around the globe cautions humanity's approach to AI. Also ahead on this Memorial Day, a look at how people across Maine are paying tribute to soldiers who died in service to our country.
Plus, the international effort to remember those who died overseas.
We just couldn't believe how the people of Holland have never forgotten.
A couple from Gorham is sharing how Dutch families are honoring the memory of thousands of American World War II soldiers buried in the Netherlands American Cemetery.
We will get to all of that. Of course, Alan's forecast just a moment away. First, though, an event that pitted elite athletes and their performance-enhancing drugs against each other. Yeah, it's called the Enhanced Games, and the inaugural competition was held in Las Vegas over the weekend. Athletes were not just allowed, but encouraged to supplement however they wanted, as long as it was medically supervised. American racer Fred Curley ran 100 meters in 9.97 seconds, about 0.4 of a second slower than the world record set by Usain Bolt. Curley had predicted Bolt's record would be destroyed, but he actually ran slower than he did at the Paris Olympic Games 2 years ago when he won bronze. So after 4 hours of swimming, weightlifting, and track, only one world record was broken, the 50-meter free swim. A Greek swimmer came out 7/100ths of a second faster, but that time, of course, will not go in the official books because the swimmer was on performance-enhancing drugs. So the games were organized by PayPal founder Peter Thiel and 1798 Capital, an investment firm which is run in part by Donald Trump Jr.
This is very interesting.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering what the logo means, because did you see it was like 3 lines
3 bars
and then
and a plus sign.
Oh. So I was trying to figure that out, but I think the interesting thing here is Fred Curley. That's like an Olympic name we kind of hear when summer rolls around. Did not beat the Usain Bolt record.
Yeah,
that's
even
insane.
though he expected to.
He said he would what? Crush it or blow it out of the water?
Yeah.
Crazy.
We talked about this before we went into it, that I'm surprised any pro athlete would even want to take part in that.
I guess if you get clean before like the Olympics, then you're legit again for world record breaking stuff, maybe?
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't think I'd want my name attached to that,
Right.
just in case somebody starts associating me with that.
Yeah, and if you want to push your body to the limit, hey, do it privately. Don't put your name in this competition.
Vegas is quite a place,
but, you know.
I feel like, I'm just going to say one thing about it. I think that the Olympics and the pressure that comes with that causes a better performance over the drug enhancement. And we saw that, and only one record fell.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I'm going to go with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I felt like the weekend forecast played out pretty good. I think we said, hey, don't sleep on Monday afternoon because it's going to turn nice, and it definitely did. Rain totals beneficial. A lot of places between 1 and 2 inches of rainfall. Portland, about 1 1/4 of an inch of rain. Nearly 2 inches fell in Wiscasset, and that rain is exiting east. Sun is filtering in, and check out the temperatures as we conclude Memorial Day. Central and southern Maine into the middle and upper 60s and low 70s. It is 70 right now in Portland, 73 in the Sanford Springvale area. Overnight, we're going to be cool, 40s and low 50s with a northwest breeze 5 to 10 miles per hour. Tomorrow looks like a gem. Mainly sunny skies, 70s if not low 80s on the high temperatures. We are going to include the county and the Highlands, though, in a little offering of more rain into Tuesday night. And this a little taste of what's to come later in the week, because we've got a big cool down and more rain in our extended forecast. We'll get there in a few minutes.
Owners at a coffee shop in Wilton say they're not sure what their next steps are after a fire over the weekend.
Fire crews were first called to Chaos Coffee on Main Street shortly before 4:30 yesterday afternoon. They started trying to knock down the fire on the first and second floors, then had to overhaul the first floor after getting the burn under control. The shop was closed when the fire broke out, and there were no serious injuries.
And the owners of a restaurant in Portland also do not yet have a timeline on when they'll be back open after a fire there. Mikado Sushi opened earlier this year. That's run by the same people who own Yosaku in Portland. The South Portland Fire Department says they were called there yesterday for a report of a fire. Everyone got out safely. Crews eventually found the fire in the ceiling near a hood vent. So while the fire didn't cause all that much damage, a significant chunk of the roof did have to be torn out.
A flock camera provided police in Lewiston with a tip that led to a chase and 2 crashes, they say. On Friday night around 8 o'clock, the flock system scanned plates on a vehicle that had been reported stolen earlier in the day in Massachusetts. Police found it, and when they tried to stop it, the driver rammed into a cruiser, then sped off. The driver crashed again into a playground fence, they say. The driver and 2 passengers got out and tried to run, but police grabbed them. All 3 are from Massachusetts. They are all now facing theft charges, and the driver is charged with reckless conduct and aggravated criminal mischief. A police officer was injured when they were cut by the mangled fence. Pope Leo is making artificial intelligence a defining issue of his papacy.
In his first major theological document, the Pope warns AI must not remain in the hands of a few and should be guided by ethics, human dignity, and social justice. The Pope also calls for strict limits on AI in warfare and argues modern conflicts should focus on diplomacy and dialogue over force. Pope Leo drew from the biblical story of the Tower of Babel, warning humanity not to build a tower to heaven, but instead to create a world that brings God to the people. Leo warns technology should not dominate or dehumanize people. He says AI should remain accountable through regulation, independent oversight, and public debate.
A sober home in South Portland was left partially without electricity and heat, and none of the house had hot water for days.
Christian Harsa spoke with residents of that home and looked more into this. Christian, what did you learn?
Hi, Amanda and Bailey. The men living in that sober home on Broadway in South Portland say the nonprofit that owns the home didn't pay thousands of dollars in utility bills, and it was a week before they got their utilities restored. The organization that owns that home is called Vandenberg Sober Living. It's based in Massachusetts, and ultimately the unpaid utility bill came to $3,600. During that week, without utilities, residents tell me stress was high, life was hard, and there was a concern it could get worse. And it was already bad enough, they told me.
Sucked. It was terrible. Couldn't charge the phone, we couldn't cook food. I just spent $177 on groceries that went bad.
Because I had to come in here and tell the guys what the code enforcement man said, that if Vandenberg didn't pay the bill, they were going to condemn it.
A board member for MAR, the Maine Association of Recovery Residences, paid off that bill out of pocket, and that is why the utilities were ultimately restored. The house manager, that second man you just heard from, says he has not heard from Vandenberg in weeks. And Amanda and Bailey, I have called and emailed and also have gotten no response. I'll have more on this story later at 5.
All right, Christian Harsa live for us. Thank you, Christian.
Today, Togus Veterans Medical Center held its annual Memorial Day ceremony at the Togus National Cemetery.
About 30 people gathered this morning for the wreath-laying ceremony in Chelsea. Veteran Jimmy Searle was a volunteer who says he was honored to lay the 3 wreaths. Searle says his father and his grandfather were also veterans, so this holiday has special meaning to him.
It's very touching, very emotional to think of all the people that have passed away, you know, for us to do what we do.
There are more than 5,300 veterans buried at the cemetery. Senator Susan Collins marked Memorial Day Monday afternoon at the Southern Maine Veterans Memorial Cemetery in Springvale.
Collins, the daughter of a World War II combat veteran, paid tribute to America's fallen and said military families do not bear their burden alone. She quoted President Abraham Lincoln's phrase, "mystic chords of memory," referring to our shared history and bonds.
The men and women of our armed forces strengthen those mystic chords. From generation to generation, they add new and everlasting strands of valor, devotion to duty, and sacrifice.
That ceremony also honored veterans who have returned from battlefields all over the world. Collins said Memorial Day reminds us of our obligation to uphold the values that inspired such service and sacrifice.